We are in this video talking about sexual identity. We are talking about the meaning of life, how to have a meaningful life, and how to have a meaningful life in which you're not living in a cave, embittered, alone, self-hating. How to have a meaningful life as a member of society, even if it's a society you despise, even if it's a society that despises you. And for a lot of us, if we're really being honest, sure, a huge component of that is your sexual status. It is your sexual life. It may just be the one person you settle down and marry with. It may be your plan was to have just one person you settle down and marry with, and you end up divorced. You end up a widow. Life's full of surprises. But sure, who it is you love and who loves you, who it is you respect and who loves you, how you fit into any particular society. One of the most tangible aspects, one of the most important aspects, one of the most painful aspects has to do with sexual identity, sexual status. And if any of you are having difficulty visualizing what I mean, how would you feel if you had to migrate to Pakistan right now and live in Pakistan permanently for the rest of your life? There are people who are born and raised in Pakistan watching this video who will nevertheless know exactly what I'm talking about. Your status in Pakistani society, right? It's going to have everything to do with who you're married to. Like if you're a woman married to a man or a man, whoever you are watching this video, male or female, right away you can visualize, okay, I get married into this family. These are my in-laws. This is my extended family in Pakistan, right? Everything. When you go to the market to buy vegetables, when you go to the dentist, right? It's like, it's not just about sex. It's not just about the difference between getting laid and not getting laid, having a social circle of friends and being forever alone, or feeling like an insider and feeling like an outcast, right? Your sexuality, sadly, tragically, right? It both reflects, how you fit into society as a whole. And it also is how you fit into society as a whole. Now, Pakistan is one thing. I've been to university. I am a university graduate. I have also been back to university. I could go back again. I'm not planning to. Right? I've gone back. Some of you know too. It's a lot like Pakistan. like you can understand my situation in this university, how I fit into the microcosm, the tiny miniature society of the university quite quickly and easily by discussing my sexuality, right? Who loves me? Who respects me? How do people treat me? And who are the people I actually live my life with? And for some other guy, that might have everything to do with getting drunk and hanging out at a bar and being in a dorm room or something. And for me, right, it might have to do with going to the library, for real talk, It's not one answer. It's not one simple pattern that explains how you fit in society or how you fail to fit in society, how you're rejected. But yeah, what I'm hinting at here is no matter how relentlessly shallow the discourse about inceldom and the alternatives to inceldom are on the internet, no matter how shallow the discourse about the black pill, the red pill, and the white pill may be, I don't regard this as shallow, and I'm not going to talk about it in a shallow way. We'll say this, even if you think it's a shallow problem, the solutions we get into are really quite profound. I'm going to play you a clip of another YouTuber, very different guy from myself, very different perspective on life, very different philosophy. Guy called Wheat Waffles. Why he chose that name, I can't tell you. And notice what Wheat Waffles is doing here. In my response to this, I'm going to talk about sexuality, but I'm also going to talk about atheism. I'm also going to talk about nihilism. I'm going to talk about the negation of the prevalent and defining beliefs in your society, the definitive beliefs in your society, how we live with that. Before I play this clip, so just so that you're thinking about this as you hear it for the first time, let me just say, if you have a friend who's a complete redneck, a complete bumpkin, and he says to you honestly, so you become friends at work, you work at a gas station together or something, he's just getting to know you, and he says to you, look, he grew up in the Okefenokee swamp. He grew up in the backwoods or something, and he says, look, I've never really met an atheist before. I've never really met, like Can you tell me what life's? Or he says to you, I can't even imagine like what your life is like, because he's grown up totally in the church and surrounded by church people and so on. That's been his life. I've never really had that conversation myself. I've actually seen it on camera thanks to YouTube. I've seen some people having like well-intentioned conversations with that, where the people who are really religious are saying they can't really imagine what life would be like without religion. Well, probably the easiest and laziest way for you to express what your life is like is to describe the world as if the religious experience is life in its totality. And then within that subset, right, to describe the things that you negate. So you could say to someone who's a devout Christian out of the backwoods, out of the Okefenokee swamp, right? You can say to this dude from the swamp, well, my life is a lot like yours, except I'm not homophobic. Like, I'm cool with gay people. Like, I'm not gay myself, but wouldn't be a big deal if I gave it a try sometime at a swingers party. Like, whatever. You can say whatever you want to say about that. My life is a lot like yours, except I'm not afraid of going to hell after I die. You can negate some particular things. My life is like yours. I don't feel guilty about looking at porn or masturbating. Like, these are the differences between me and you. Like, I'm taking your life as you know it, this subset of what's really possible and what's really meaningful in life, the life you're already living, and then I'm just negating things within it, right? That's the easy way. That's the lazy way to get across to someone who's Christian, someone who's Muslim, or someone who's like an Orthodox Jew, what your life is like as an atheist in context. The greater challenge is to get them to realize, hey, this is the life you're living. And this is what life can be. And this is what it really is. That actually my life as an atheist, or my life as a nihilist, right? You're living in a very narrow, your whole life takes place in this kind of narrow slice, this tiny subset of what's possible, what's thinkable, what's meaningful, what's actual for someone like me. The reality is you're living a life where you're negating all the time all the things that I am open-minded to, the things that I embrace, the things that I experience, the things that are thinkable for me but are unthinkable for you, the things that are imaginable for me that are imaginable for you. That actually what's wonderful about my life as an atheist or as a nihilist is something you, as a true believer, can't imagine yet. So it's a very different kind of negation. It's much harder to get across. It's much harder to deal with face to face. And we're assuming you like this guy. We're assuming this guy's your coworker at the gas station or whatever. I don't know. Maybe you guys are in the paratrooper unit in the army or something together. Some reason why you guys get along, and he's trying to understand your perspective. Okay, so I'm setting you up for it this way, and now you can start to imagine if you want to contrast your view of the world to someone who has the incel mentality, right? Are you going to work within their view of the world, just negate things within that subset, or are you going to try to give them that broader view? And again, I realize the term open-minded in English, it almost suggests a kind of stupid, unsophisticated naivete, right? But we're talking about open-mindedness here in a sense, frankly, I don't have the words for. I don't have the idiom for in English.
In fact, in relation to this last one, identity beliefs, I have a great example from my own experiences showing this. A couple years ago, I used to work at this vegan restaurant, and there was an extremely attractive girl who worked there. Soon enough, I found out she was currently dating one of the male employees who also worked there. This was to my utmost surprise, because no disrespect, but this man was at least 2-3 points less attractive than her. They weren't even close to being on the same level. At first, I tried to rationalize in my head how this could be possible. Then, suddenly, I remembered a conversation I've had previously with another girl who was also vegan. In this conversation, I recall her saying, never in a million years would she ever date a man who isn't vegan. So, back to the restaurant, I figured this must be an identical case at hand. Later, I did some research and found vegan women outnumber men 3-1. So, based on this ratio, if we assume the majority of vegans only want to date others who share the same beliefs as them, there will inevitably be an imbalance working in men's favour. An attractive woman may have no choice but to date a lower SMV man if she finds all her looks matches are already taken. Anyway, that's point 3. And now I've got these out of the way. Now is a good time to press the like button and leave any thoughts you have in the comments below.
So there are a number of different things to respond to here. I'm gonna get rid of the shallow ones first, actually, before I get into the more profound critique. So this guy's whole approach, you will notice, depends on an assumption of a presumed to be objectively real scale from 1 to 10, for how attractive people are. And it is somewhat hilarious to me if you've watched any of his videos. He gives examples of people like who he consider, it's his own judgment, who is a 7, 8, 9, and 10. And all the time, like, what are you talking about? That woman you have is a 7. She's a 10. She's better looking than the woman you have. Like, where does this come from? How do you think this is an objectively real judgment? Like, all the time, just for me in that moment, you respond that way. So this is already one warning: is how is it you create in your mind these utterly self-serving, subjective judgments and try to scientize them, right? Try to render them into a kind of pseudoscientific belief or fiction. This is a significant danger in life. Obviously, it's not just in this province. We talk about this all the time. So many people convince themselves that they have a biochemical imbalance in their brain, that their subjective feelings from moment to moment, they feel slightly depressed, they feel slightly cranky, they feel slightly anxious. And oh no, it's not just that they're lazy. It's not just that they're depressed, they're miserable, they're inactive. There's a million reasons to feel this way. It's not just that you had a fight with your mom this morning, or you spent 8 hours playing video games yesterday. Maybe you feel like crap today because you spent all day playing video games yesterday. No. It's a disease you can take a pill for. And my point is, people buy into pseudoscientific, totally sui generis, subjective notions based on feeling. Right? And they start to believe these things are objectively real and quantifiable. So this guy, he's completely committed to the idea that he can judge the difference between someone who's a 7, 8, 9, and 10, both women and men. He believes in his own judgment this way. Now, on a pragmatic level, my argument against this is you say, no, everyone is either a 0 or a 10. Now, I think you can come up with other criteria, but the criterion I think matters to you the most in how you live your life is, am I willing to risk my dignity to go over and ask this person to have a cup of coffee with me? Am I willing to do that for whatever combination of reasons? And it can be completely intellectual. It can be you meet someone and you think they're intelligent, you think they're interesting, and you're like, wow, I want to ask them out for a cup of coffee. Obviously, it could just be physical attraction. It could be something else. Very often, it's a combination of cultural factors. You perceive this as a sophisticated person, as an interesting person, but you are willing to risk fucking up your own life to ask this person to go to coffee with you. Yes, no. It's a binary, right? If the answer is yes, you're going to put it on the line. You're going to risk the humiliation. And there are many ways people can humiliate you today. You can ask someone out to coffee, and then they can immediately go on Twitter and say, can you believe this guy just asked me out to coffee? There are different consequences. This could have some trivial, some not so trivial. We already mentioned the example of a university campus. What if this person makes a complaint to you? Like, oh my God, this guy was hitting on me and asked me to coffee. And no matter how reasonable you were, someone else can give an unreasonable description of what happened. And now you're sitting in the principal's office. Now you're dealing with, you could be dealing with a restraining order. It could be all kinds of horrible consequences from taking this risk. But sure, the most common thing you're risking is just your own embarrassment, just your own loss of dignity, just feeling bad about yourself because you get rejected or the person is just perplexed. They just don't get it. There's different ways they can respond negatively or disappointed with that. And here, I'll tell you something I have more experience with because I don't have a lot of experience with rejection. What I have experience with is you ask the person out to coffee, and then the minute you're sitting down and drinking coffee with them, you're like, oh, I regret this. Where the person does go out on a date with you, and you're like, oh my God, you're really stupid. You're a really horrible person. That different kinds of regret. So I'm just saying, for your own sanity in your own life, I think you got to live by this credo that everyone is either a 0 or a 10. Now, getting into the deeper aspect of this, and you see, this is a way to refute the incel worldview from within. Okay, within your narrow view of the world, which is really, closing the door on this much broader range of meaningful experiences in life, the things you can experience, things you can do. Like there are all kinds of things that are unthinkable to you that are thinkable to me. There are possibilities of things you can do in your life you can't imagine, and that I can. I mean, I can imagine them, and then I can also go and do them. You can't, right? Because of this incel view you're committed to. But if I just want to take the lazy route and I want to refute your view from within, okay, so you have admitted that there are beautiful women who will be interested in me as a man because they're committed to the ethos of veganism. Veganism, as a worldview, whatever. Because of this ideological commitment, in plain English, we just say it's a political commitment, right? So what you're saying is what people believe in, what people are interested in, what they care about, who they are intellectually and ethically matters more than physical appearance. So you have just completely refuted the black pill view of the world. You have just completely refuted the red pill view of the world without even realizing that's what you've done. You've only admitted that it's true for vegans. And the only other example he gives, which doesn't go into, he actually just gives a Christian cross. He just suggests this will be true for religious people. Okay? Guess what? It's true for everybody. All right? Everybody is committed to something, right? It may be much more despicable than veganism. I knew a woman, if you've been watching my channel long enough, you know exactly who I'm talking about. I knew a woman who was 110% Mormon. Like she wasn't just an average Mormon. She was one of the people who took the time out of her life to go on vacation and visit the different places the Mormon prophet had, like go and visit the holy sites. She was like 110% true believer, enthusiastic Mormon. And she made YouTube videos talking about the fact that there were several men who wanted to marry her. And she rejected them because they weren't Mormon enough. They weren't pious enough. They didn't believe what she believed. She had better options, and she went with this schlemiel instead. And guess what? She later lost her faith. I'm saying the guy's a schlemiel because she said some things on the internet publicly. I forget if they actually got legally divorced, but they split up for quite some time. And she let us all know she wasn't happy with the religion anymore. She wasn't happy with the man anymore that she'd settled down with. Sad story. Right? Okay. Not everyone is vegan. Not everyone is Mormon, right? But everybody is something, including, most pathetically of all, you guys who are video game addicts, right? Like, think about it. What do you spend more hours of the day doing? Playing video games or me being vegan? Like, how many hours a day does being vegan take out of my life compared to you playing the Elder Scrolls or I don't even know what these games are called. Or Rainbow Seven or or Counter-Strike Stop, whatever this game is you're playing, right? How many hours does that take out of your life compared to my commitment to veganism, or even as someone who's really a religious Mormon? How much time and effort do you think they're putting into prayer? They're putting into the work of being a Mormon. It might be a couple minutes out of the day, it might be a couple hours out of the day. But like your commitment to playing video games as a video game addict is huge. So I was having a conversation with Melissa just yesterday that reminded me of this girl. I'd forgotten about this girl. We were talking about something totally different. So I'm saying girl. So she was like 21, young woman, But I remember there was this young woman in my classes at university, and she was attractive and she was nice. We had some conversations. And she'd come to class wearing this really nerdy video game addict merchandise, And I was saying, I can't even remember what video games they were. It was really nerdy stuff. It was like Pokemon. She'd have she's like 21-year-old woman, and she'd have like the backpack where the whole backpack is Pikachu. And again, I don't even recognize all the video game characters, right? But like really nerdy, really dorky video game, like a button and like the shirt, the sweatshirt. And the reason I mentioned to Melissa was I remember how negatively I reacted to that, right? And like it's not a big deal. Like normally I'd be sitting there reading my book or doing like I'm sitting there taking notes, or like I'm busy, and I just kind of look up and notice her. She's sitting down next to me or coming into the room saying, "Oh," but still in that half second, I think you are a loser. Like, what the fuck is wrong? That's how I reacted like in that second, right? And what I was saying to Melissa yesterday was there must be so many women who react that way to men. Like the men don't even realize it. Like, and again, sorry, that girl, like, I liked her. She was a nice person. Like, I just liked talking to her. We talked about miscellaneous stuff, right? Like, I have reasons to be positively inclined towards her, but still, like, oh my God, like in that moment, you're like, what is wrong? Just a sense of like disgust and revulsion, right? Now, look, that's the genders being what they are, with me being male and her being female, to a much greater extent, right? Women are going to be reacting to negatively men who are video game addicts. But of course, there are some women who are going to react to you negatively because they see that you're a Bible thumping Christian. Like they're a sophisticated urban agnostic or atheist kind of woman, and they see you there with your Bible, or where you may be wearing a T-shirt or something that identifies with Christianity that way. Some women are going to react negatively to you being vegan. Some women would react negatively to you being Muslim or Hindu or some other religion too, right? Like whichever category you're in, whichever camp you've signed up to, women can respond negatively and reject you for that reason. But sure, the video game thing most of all. And the reason why I'm giving this example is, right, how many guys at that university, when they saw that girl, because she was attractive, she was good looking, how many guys were like desperate to seduce her and responded really positively because they're like, here's the one girl who will accept me because I'm a video game addict too, right? How many guys like came up to her like, hey, wow, is that a Pokemon Sapphire backpack? That's really great. Hey, I'm on level 75 of Pokemon Sapphire. What are you on? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there must have been guys like who outnumber me. Like there must have been like 100 guys at the university who see that she's a good looking and just a nice person generally. Like there's just nothing wrong with her. She was, some women, like you can be really mean or cruel or something. You're just a nice person to have a conversation with. How many guys are going to see this is my one chance at love with someone who will accept me in the same way that like you're Mormon and meeting someone else who's also Mormon, like they're compatible with me, with my beliefs, right? So let's spell it out here. They're compatible with who I am intellectually. They're compatible with who I am ethically, right? That really matters. And this dude who identifies, Wheat Waffles, he identifies as the most cynical black pill extremist, where he's saying all that matters is your appearance. How handsome your face is, how good your body is for both men and women. That's what it all comes down to, right? But he's inserted this exception for vegans. And in this sense, we're all vegans. Everyone's a vegan. He says vegans will lower their standards. Like a vegan woman will be able to be with a relatively ugly guy because he's vegan also, because ethically, because intellectually, right? Because in terms of interests, they're on the same page. And what I'm saying to you is, in this sense, everyone's a vegan. Even if you don't know it yet, you're committed to something. You're interested in something. And that matters to you more than these differences the incels obsess over, like the exact shape of your brow ridge, the exact shape of your nose, the exact shape of your chin. You're willing to fall in love with someone whose nose is twice as big, or whose nose is half as big, whose jaw is slightly less appealing or more appealing, right? And if you just turn around and think about it inversely, you'll know how true that is. If I present you with the most beautiful woman in Pakistan, but she's a conservative Muslim, and in order to be with her, you have to get along with her and her whole extended family. Like you're going to have to become a conservative Muslim too. You're going to have to join in that whole social circle and adopt her values. And she's going to raise your kids with her set of beliefs, her set of principles, right? All of a sudden, you start getting real sensitive to the incompatibilities between you, no matter how attractive she is, right? So that's refuting the incel mentality, black pill mentality, red pill mentality from within. And it's already hard enough. But I'm saying that's the easy way. That's the easy route. Okay, no, Melissa, do you want to? I can read comments in the audience. None of you have hit thumbs up because you're cowards. You're afraid to hit thumbs up with a video that has incel in the title. We've got 35 people in the audience, approx, and only 8 thumbs up because you're terrified of where this conversation is going to go next. I'll read. If you guys have something intelligent to say, now's the time to type it out and say it because I'll pay attention. But this is not going to be a long live stream. Gonna wrap it up. Melissa, anything you wanna add on the mic?
No, it's just I totally relate to
the
topic, and
right.
Of course, if you and I were not together, I would be hard pressed to find another vegan that I'd be interested in.
So this relationship is an example too. Now, okay, just to briefly digress again, the 1 to 10 scale, it's a totally self-serving function. You want to say?
Yeah, no,
hit me.
I'm not saying nowhere in the world, but I'm just saying like where
you
happen to be finding a vegan man.
The struggle is real. Of course. Yeah. No doubt. Okay, there are people who write to me as if I'm a 2 out of 10 and Melissa is a 10 out of 10. There are people who are like, no, seriously. Like there are some people who perceive us that way, like, geez, man, like you're old and ugly, and how did you get with this hot chick? Like there are people, that's how they perceive us. But trust me, there are people who write to me and see it the other way around. Like as if Melissa is a 2 out of 10 and I'm a 10 out of 10. There have always been people writing into the channel, men and women, who are like, dude, you have options. Like, why do you got to be with this chick? You could be with, and whatever. I don't even have to fill in all the blanks. You have all these other options, right? My point here is not to say one side or the other is right. It's to emphasize how subjective those judgments are, okay? But let me tell you, so whether or not you think I'm a catch doesn't matter. It's really subjective. To some women, I am a 10 out of 10, and that's what my experience has been in life. Like when you look at the criteria these guys use for what it means to be an 8 out of 10, what it means to be a 10 out of 10, like the criteria they use are like if you're an 8, women will cold approach you out of the blue. And like if you're a 10, women will cold approach you even when they're already married to someone else, like risking their marriage and fucking up their whole situation. They'll take risks, like to ruin their life to try to be. It's like, well, that's been my experience my whole life. Now, I'm not saying all women treat me that way, but like all my life, teenager, 20s, 30s, 40s, like there are like the criteria these guys are using, right? I've had that experience all my life. And like, to me, this is all meaningless. At the same time, how many million or billion women are there who find me totally unattractive? But to some women, I'm a 10. That's my point, is that it's really subjective, right? And those women too, right? Like it's the same thing. We're just talking about it really briefly. But like I can sympathize with the position they're in. There are these women, okay, let's say it's a woman who's vegan and an intellectual. And all her life, she's wanted to be with a guy who's a vegan intellectual. Let's say also cares about politics. Like that's what she wants, just hypothetical, right? And she's married to a guy who watches football on TV every night for 2.5 hours. He watches football, and then he watches the football news, ESPN Sports Center. And she's sitting there every day thinking, this is not what I want in my life to be like. This guy eats meat in front of me. He drinks alcohol in front of me and watches sport. Like she's just sitting there every day thinking, this isn't what I went to college for. And maybe the guy's hot. Maybe he's great. Like maybe that's why she chose him. Maybe he's really attractive guy. And every day she's wringing her hands thinking, wishing she could get with a guy like me. Like it's tragic. It's horrible. And that's just a woman who's perceiving me for what I am. Because I am. I'm vegan. I'm intellectual. I care about politics. That's true. But you have to realize women also fantasize. Like there are women who will look at me and whatever their 3 criteria are, they will imagine that I satisfy the criteria. And like, it ain't me, babe. It's just made up in their own head. So that's the other thing is whatever actual redeeming qualities you have as a man, if a woman likes you or is interested in you, she can just totally make up in her own mind what you think. So that's, my view of it is, I don't think the 0 to 10 scale or the 1 to 10 scale, I don't think it's real. I don't think it exists. But look, suppose someone asked the question, we're going to ask it both ways. Someone asked the question, how is it possible for me to get with a woman who's so much more attractive than I am? Like someone who perceives it like I'm a 2 out of 10 and Melissa's a 10 out of 10. So it's okay. So how did you pull this off? Like, how did I seduce her? How did I make her fall in love with me? Okay, legit question. And unless someone else simultaneously, again, I've had people say this kind of stuff. Someone asked a question. Okay, well, how did Melissa seduce you? Like, how did this girl who's only a 2 out of 10 seduce a guy who's 10? Okay, so both perspectives exist, and both are totally subjective and kind of unreal. Though both perspectives, they'll reflect something about the person making the judgment. Like that's what it's going to reflect. Okay, I can tell you right now, the way Melissa seduced me is that she read my fucking essays. She read my written work. Period. So, like, there were so many hot chicks at my university, including women in their 30s. Sorry, this is Canada. University's cheap here, unlike the United States. We've got Generation X gamer in the audience. Gen X gamer. If you lived in Canada, you realize you could have afforded, tuition here. Universities are crap, but your whole life would have been different if you went to a country where tuition was cheap, as opposed to the United States of America, where everything's $50,000, $100,000. It's ridiculous. Okay, but in Canada, because it's Canada, you meet people in their 30s and stuff. It's not all young people on campus. Okay, and there were women who hit on me. There were women in university. There were women who wanted me on the university campus. Right? Did a single one of those women read my work and then come up to me and talk to me about my written work, like my published work? Never. Now, look, I'm not saying now some woman's going to watch this video and try to seduce me. Some woman's going, oh, I figured out the combination to the safe. Right? I'm just saying that's going to get you a cup of coffee with me. It doesn't mean we're going to get married or fall in love, but, oh, okay. But like, think about implicitly what qualities those women were lacking because they didn't do that. Now, I mean, each woman is a totally different story. I'm not generalizing her. But yes, at this university, there were women who worked out at the gym probably 3 days a week, right? And they wore skin-tight yoga pants to class university every day. Like different universities there, but you were surrounded by spandex at the University of Victoria at that time. Doesn't matter. It's freezing cold. Spandex, like, bare midriff in 0 degrees. That's University of Victoria. The girls, they're there to compete. So there are all these women who work on their body and wear spandex, right? And a lot of those women, it has never occurred to them, oh, if you want a high quality man, if you want a man who satisfies your criteria for what you're looking for, you might have to read a book. You might have to read his book. You might have to read the essay he published. And then think about how easy it would be for a woman like that to approach me. A woman could walk up to me, like I've never noticed her. She's been in class. I never fucking noticed her. She noticed me. Walk up and say, hey, I read your essay about like communism in China, about the history of communism. Yeah, man, that's, oh, okay, let's have coffee. And then whatever. I mean, once you have coffee, maybe nothing's about. Like, but okay, but this is my point. The point is not like, hey, this is the combination of the safe. Like, there are qualities Melissa already had implicitly that led her to do that and that were demonstrated by that. Like, it's not like you could just take some other girl and talk her through the technique cynically of how to seduce me and that she can then read the essay and get into bed with me. It's not like that, right? Like, who she is was demonstrated just by the fact that she read that before she talked to me and then we had a conversation about it, right? Like, there were reading and again, we had a super high commitment relationship and put years of our work, so on and so forth, right? Now, having explained it that way so much, like, I feel like I don't have to say a whole lot about flipping around the other way. Obviously, like, okay, Melissa does find me attractive. We are totally sexually compatible. She is attracted to me on a carnal, lust, shallow level, as it happens. If you think she's crazy, write a book about it. What can I tell you? But she does. She is one of the women. Not all women find me attractive, but she is one of the women who finds me physically attractive. Okay. But obviously, right, there's something similar there where there are qualities I have, there are characteristics I have that are demonstrated. I mean, veganism is kind of like the smallest of them. There are all kinds of guys who are vegan for the wrong reasons. She would not have been interested in. So look, you would have never been attracted to John Venus. John Venus was vegan at the time. He's a bodybuilder, right? He's the wrong kind of vegan, right? And he's not an intellectual. He's not smart enough. You would have never been attracted to Vegan Gains, to Richard. Never. Vegan for the wrong reasons, wrong. You know what I mean? No, we could do a whole list. Like, there are so many vegan YouTubers. Like, and it's not that you could have had a crush on them. Right. Joey Carbstrong. There you go. Right. And a lot of these guys, they may be like objectively better looking than me. Like, in some, like, they, if you're just doing it that way. Right. But the point is, so for Melissa, she did read my written work, but even for obviously what she could see on YouTube, like who I am is being demonstrated here. So yeah, she knew I was exactly what she was looking for in a whole bunch of different ways. You can make a long list of the characteristics, right? And for me, just that one thing, because Melissa didn't have a YouTube channel at the time. I couldn't watch her videos, listen to it, right? And guys, sorry, again, this is not bragging, but the reality of my life for like about 2 years before Melissa came into it, there were a lot of women coming at me, a lot. And a lot of those women, not all, they had a YouTube channel or a podcast, or they at least had Instagram or something where you can see their life. You can get to know something about them. And again, a lot of these women, they were very attractive, but you can see, well, this is a woman who's never going to read my written work, never going to read my book, never going to read my essay. And if she does, like if you drag her into it, right, never going to appreciate it, never going to understand. So brief digression on that, but a deep one. A lot of these guys, including Wheat Waffles himself, so this video is partly a critique of Wheat Waffles, they speak really positively about geomaxing, right? They speak really positively about flying away to Thailand and then trying to get married to a woman there, right? Now, it's also interesting that they primarily use Thailand as an example. What about Malaysia? What about Indonesia? What about Saudi Arabia? What about Pakistan? But even what about Japan? What about communist China, right? What about Ukraine right now, right? What about Russia, And on a deep level, this fantasy that a better life is available for them by marrying a woman in Thailand, it's based on the assumption that the woman is going to change everything in her life for you. She's going to completely conform to who you are, and that you aren't going to change your life for her. Now, I've met all kinds of white guys who married Thai women, Cambodian women, Laotian women. I've known some of them known for years and stuff. Okay, you go to Thailand, you learn the Thai language, you start getting drunk with her father and her uncle. Like you guys sit down and drink together. You start watching different sports and listening to different music, and you sit and watch TV with her mom while her mom is weaving. You have dinners again with her mom or dad, her brothers, and her brother may be an alcoholic and her brother maybe this, maybe that. You got to get along with her brother. You are integrated into an extended family, whether that's in Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, or whatever. It changes you, my dude, and all kinds of things. Yeah. So Gen X Gamer has some experience in Thailand. I was wondering if you'd see me in Thailand. I'm going back to Thailand, bro. I thought we'd meet up there. It'd be an interesting trip. A video collab between à-bas-le-ciel and Gen X Gamer in Thailand. But apparently it's not on your schedule. He's mentioned what he's doing next couple months. Anyway, okay, if you think this won't change you, it does, including things like video games, including like shallow habits that may actually mean a lot to you. Like your life may revolve around playing video games, if you don't admit it yourself, and your life may revolve around being a Mormon or being a Christian or or being a vegan, and you're making a choice there where you're actually sacrificing a lot to marry into Thai culture. And I think you can repeat this for most culture around the world. So yeah, that fantasy, I think, bespeaks a really dangerous delusion that frankly leads men to just lower their standards. Like, so again, not boasting. The women who were trying to seduce me immediately before I got with Melissa, and there have been women after I got with Melissa, like there have been women more recently than that. Was Melissa the most attractive woman who hit on me on this like scale of 1 to 10? No, there were better looking women. Okay. But my sex life is not about sleeping with the most attractive woman possible, with the best looking woman possible, with the highest social market value woman possible. It's not, right? My sex life is about my life. It's about leading a meaningful life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And like, obviously my sex life with the woman I'm in love with, the woman I'm living with, is only a part of that. Okay. I'm going to be a little bit vague here. I don't think any of these women would mind me talking about them. Okay. Were there women who were literally models, working as models? Yes. Were there women who like were more broadly something more like a dancer, an actress, like who did some modeling, but was a little bit, yes, were there women who were YouTubers? Of course, but some of the most attractive women were none of those things. Like they were women who had a normal job, but they were as good looking as a professional. Yes. Okay. But this is the thing. Sex, you can't look at it with just a single stage of analysis. And it's not something that happens in a mirror. It's not about hiring a model to promote your brand of soap. If I've got a new brand of soap I'm trying to sell, you just hire the model, the best looking person who's going to make people want to buy that brand of soap. I get that. I'm looking for the person I'm going to go to sleep with. I'm going to talk to you before I go to sleep tonight. Person I'm going to have a meaningful conversation with over breakfast in the morning. Person where I'm going to ask, what are you reading? And I'm interested in the book she's reading and what she has to say about it and her perspective. Even if I disagree with her, that we have an interesting disagreement about the book she's reading. And yes, there were better looking women who came at me, but none of them offered me that, right? And the point is vice versa. Tons of women, this is what they're looking for in a man, even if they can't fully elocute, they can't fully articulate, they can't explain to you what these criteria are, what the red flags are and what the green flags are that guide their lives and their choices this way. I'm sorry, I was thinking about this the other day in reference to the gym. So just shout out one other incel YouTuber, this guy Decline. So Decline is this really depressed, really down bad YouTube incel. And he's been making the effort now. He's saying he's going to take steroids even. He's going to the gym. He's trying to become muscular. He's trying to become fit. And that's his way out of his depression, his self-hating incel path in life. And obviously, a lot of viewers are just happy for him that he's now positively motivated to try to improve his life in some way. But like when you take the intellectual and ethical component out of it, once you start really spending time at the gym, and I could see this a lot in high school, there were guys in my high school gym. Now, this is also true as a middle-aged man at the gym. It's true at every gym. But at high school, I remember really seeing this. There were guys in high school who were way more muscular than me, who were much more of the Chad stereotype than me. And a lot of these guys were Italian. A lot of them were Hispanic. I didn't know black guys in that category, just in my particular cohort or whatever. I did know a lot of black guys in high school. I knew black guys who watched Star Trek. I knew some black guys who were, the nerd stereotype, just saying, not all people fit this kind of stereotype. But, but like you got a good looking Italian guy, handsome face, muscular, works out at the gym, plays sports, watches sports on TV. And I remember the girls, so we're all the same age in high school. They were afraid of those guys. Those guys were trouble. And a lot of them were violent. A lot of them were really struggling with violent issues, violent tendencies. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because their parents beat them as a kid. I don't know if it's because they're getting into fistfights with other guys. I don't know. You have to know them more personally. But they were guys who were unhinged, violent, already drinking alcohol, already have problems. Like at that time, it was mostly alcohol and cigarettes, maybe marijuana. Like in high school, you're not yet dealing with cocaine, or not in my high school, you know what I mean? Not yet the more serious drugs. But like you could really see there were women who, like, even if I am half as attractive. Oh, right. Sorry. The other thing to say about these guys, they couldn't have a conversation with you. Like they really spoke in sentence fragments. And this is high school. It does get a bit different starting with middle-aged guys at the gym. They're a little bit better spoken. A lot of guys in high school are very inarticulate. All they know how to do is play video games. They watch sports on TV. They lift weights. They do the bare minimum on their tests at school. Like that's their whole life, right? This is the hunk in high school. We used to say hunk. Now people say Chad, but that was the. And girls were afraid of them and kind of revolted by them. And like a lot of women were throwing themselves at me at that time. I was so young. Like for part of the story, I'm still a virgin, and I was very selective of what girls I was interested in. Part of this, I'm a virgin, and then I wasn't anymore. But I was not easy. I slept with a very small number of women in high school and university. But there were these women throwing themselves at me, and like at this age, the women, like, sir, we're all young, we're all naive. They probably haven't really thought through what they're looking for or why yet, right? but they just feel comfortable talking to me. I would talk to them the same way I talk to a guy. I wasn't hitting on them. I wasn't for them. They would feel safe. They would feel like this is a guy who's not going to beat them up, who's not going to get unhinged and fly off the handle and slap them around. This guy who's not going to get drunk and get out of control, like the things implicitly they're looking for. So if this guy declines, if he starts spending more time at the gym, what he's going to find is there are a lot of really good-looking guys with a lot of muscle, and women reject them. Women reject them too. And those guys, yes, they may be able to have some one-night stands. They may have this, they may have that. They may have other advantages in life. But there are a lot of guys, and I don't want to even describe these guys because it'll reveal who they are because of YouTube. Well, partly just because of the way I live my life. I've known quite a few male bodybuilders. I've had male bodybuilders who are my friends and talk to me. And dude, I've known these male bodybuilders, and their sex has been horrible. It's been horrible for decades. So one guy, just keeping this totally anonymous, but I remember him saying that for like 10, he was vegan. He's a vegan bodybuilder. And he had a very handsome face. I would say he's basically a 10, whatever. But it's subjective. But he said the only women who would sleep with him would be married women, just having a one-night stand with him, cheating on their husband. He couldn't get any kind of meaningful relationship with women. These women were staying away from him. And probably some of these other factors were there. He was a bit of a stereotypical dumb guy. We have a comment from the audience. Quote, "You ought to change the title of this video to Incel Pwned with Facts and Logic." So, babe, do you want to jump in? Do you want to say anything now? So you just have a thoughtful expression in your face. I mean, look, yeah. Yeah, it's up to you.
Well, were you in the middle of, you were talking about this guy at the gym?
I'm always in the middle. Okay, sure. Well, yeah, I was just going to say, I think what the guy at the gym doesn't realize is, and what he'll start to meet face to face, are other guys who are in great shape, guys who are very attractive, but who still have all these problems or more and worse. Here, just come a little bit closer here.
Okay.
Go on, yeah. Go on, what's that?
Yeah, I guess what I've been thinking about in the last few minutes was just a conversation that we had recently about what people think of their romantic relationships, but also friendships in terms of what you need in your life. So you were talking about some women that were interested in you prior to us getting together. And I was thinking, what you said about my sex life being my life, it's not just about my sex life. It's also about how does this person play into my life and how can I play a role in their lives? So I won't name names, but it's just how many people really can be a part of your life in that way. Like how many people aren't involved with something like in a specific location that keeps them there, like, whether it's a family issue, whether it's their job is location specific, like, maybe you'll find somebody, maybe there'll be somebody online who for all these ethical reasons, like you have things in common, but like they can't leave and you can't go there. I just think that's really common.
Those kinds of constraints.
Yeah. And also, just this idea of what do they need and what do you need? And how is this going to be something that's not going to detract from both of your lives? How is a relationship with this person going to add
actually
to both
be
of your
positive?
lives?
Okay, but look, I want to put a human face on it. Yeah. So I think you could have had John Venus instead of me, or some other dude equivalent to John Venus. Okay. So again, not just thinking about sex, not just thinking about. So you guys can see already, I'm in okay shape for a middle-aged man. I'm 43. I do 200 push-ups a day. That's the workout I recommend because I don't want to waste that much time at the gym. Yesterday I did 100 push-ups. Today I'll do 200 probably. But yeah, just mentioning. How many I do from day to day varies a little bit. How busy I am, whatever. But I'm in okay shape. How many push-ups can John Venus do? Can you 500, like 1,000? I don't know. But her agenda in life is not to find the man who can do the maximum number of push-ups or has the maximum amount of muscle mass. Think about what your life would actually be like with John Venus. So John Venus, not an intellectual. I don't know if he reads any books. I've never heard him mention a book, but if he reads books, they're bad. John Venus believes in UFOs, believes in supernatural hippie spirituality, and just what your life would be like every day. So every day he wakes up, he goes to the gym multiple times, he's lifting weights, he's doing bodybuilding. He's shaving his chest and taking photographs of himself. He's also, to my knowledge, his main business is coaching other people. So the other time he's on the phone or he's going to visit his work, he's going and helping other people exercise. So like even if you think John Venus is more attractive to me, which you don't, right? Like, so this is, just think about 1 week of your life, what your life is like with this guy week in, week out. Now, I'm going to add something else about John Venus that I think is very telling. It's true of a lot of the pretty boys, a lot of good-looking men, whether they are bodybuilders or not, whether it is John Venus or it is Johnny Depp. History of addiction problems. So I'm not putting words in. John Venus came out and spoke about this. And he even spoke about just his struggle to deal with cigarette smoking, and that he was still smoking cigarettes and he hid it from his wife. Like, he would go and smoke cigarettes, then he would gargle mouthwash or something. But even cigarettes and alcohol, whereas like, you don't want that.
No. No.
You know?
I have enough experience of being in a long-term relationship with somebody who was basically a drug addict.
And lying to you about it and stuff too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, for me, if you think about the female equivalent of John, you think about some woman who's really attractive and is a full-time fitness coach or something like that, but these same issues, believes in crazy hippie spirituality, UFOs, like someone who's intellectually soft, someone who has addiction problems, even if it's just cigarettes, alcohol, marijuana or something, like, it's not even we don't know. With John Venus, I believe his position is he's never used steroids. We don't know. I mean, steroids or testosterone. But like, my point is, obviously, for me also, I judge a woman that way. And like that, this, even if people aren't aware of it, of course, this is the reality of how people feel.
No, I mean, and I'm trying to get to the very fundamental questions here with the incel discussions online, and why this is obviously a mass phenomenon that people are talking about, inceldom, and it's not even that. Like, it's in general the topic of relationship advice and maximizing your potential, self-improvement. How much of that is for yourself and how much of it is for other people,
right?
There's just so much advice online, and I think a lot of people are doing these things in order to attract another partner, or attract whoever they want into their lives. And this getting to the heart of the matter, of why it is that these people think that it's hopeless because of the bone structure that they were born with, like where fat deposits on their body, and like how much muscle they can build, gym maxing, and this kind of thing, as opposed to these ideological
ideological, intellectual, ethical, and emotional. Let's switch it up.
Absolutely. Okay.
So the other thing is, for both women and men, but in our culture, this is more obvious with women. For both women and men, we struggle with a sense of powerlessness in our lives. People want to lead a better life. People want to lead a different life. They want to make a change. What can they change? Most of us can't go back to college. Like, sorry, for real, I've heard Gen X Gamer say this, talk about how your life could be different, how your life could be better if you had a different career, different kind of education or whatever. Well, most of us can't change that. Can you get a new job? Some people can, some can't, and partly it's your own psychological makeup. Okay, like you work as a nurse at a hospital. Can you quit your job and be a construction worker? Can you? Like, there's a sense in which you can, like, you think you can get hired, but can you actually endure what it's like to work in construction when what you're used to is being a nurse? For any field. So like, can you change? Okay, what can you change about your life? And notice I'm saying change, not improve. Maybe it's going to be worse, but so many people are living with a sense of powerlessness, hopelessness, futility. They want something to change. The one thing they can change is their sexual partner, right? And it's tragic more often than not, right? And I know that's why a lot of married women cheat on their husbands. I'm just being real. I think men and women have the same problem. I just think with women, it's more visible in our society, right? And yes, that is partly because women expect the man to provide financially. It may be a completely false expectation. It may be untrue 9 times out of 10, right? But like the reality is for me in my life. So you guys know I'm divorced. My first wife was in a PhD program at Cambridge University, right? So when we were de facto married it was high commitment when we first started dating. When she became my girlfriend and became my wife, everything in my life changed. Everything in my life changed. And I can say this right now. Whoever you are, if you're a dude, if you divorce the woman you're with now and get married to a woman with a PhD in anthropology, everything's going to be different in your life, right? Well, again, it's more visible or more transferable. It's more obvious with women because there are women who will come out and say openly they want to break up with their husband and marry a basketball player because in their whole life there are women who say they want to break up with their husband and marry a guy who works on the stock market, who's a stockbroker. They want to break up with their current husband and be with a medical doctor, whatever the fantasy is, right? And again, it could just be they want to break up with their husband and get with a guy who doesn't watch sports on TV, who isn't a lazy drunk who spends time. They want to be with a guy who's of a different intellectual caliber, different ethical caliber, different emotional caliber. Some of those qualities too. Like my point is, it's not always just money or status or fame or something that they're chasing. But when it is, women tend to be more open about it. It's more openly discussed. They're saying all that stuff goes on with men, all of it. And in a sense, it's a little bit worse with men because with men, they're normally pursuing younger women, whereas the women will be pursuing men of the same age or older, predominantly, not always, but disproportionately. That's the way the age gap goes. So yeah, my point is this: sometimes sex is about sex. I try to be sex positive. A lot of the time, sex is not about sex. And I've got to say, face to face, when women come at me, sometimes I can feel that, where it's, the woman doesn't want me. She wants a whole new life. You know what I mean? She wants the solution to all her problems. She wants guidance. Sometimes women come, they want a cult leader. You know what I mean? Like they want a new religion. You know what I mean? Well, look, I don't think I'm special. I think that's going on for a lot of men and a lot of women. And, again, it's more shameful for a man to admit that about a woman. It's much harder in our society for a man to admit that he pursued a woman, he married a woman because he wanted to be a better person himself. He wanted a better life, right? Whereas it's easy for a woman to say, like, she chose this man because she wanted to step up. So that's a lot of what's going on. Okay. So Charlie donated $5 for Melissa getting on camera, and he adds, she is absolutely beautiful and stunning. You're a lucky man. We get both at this channel. We get pro Melissa people. We get anti Melissa people. Yeah, it's certainly difficult to imagine how different the channel would be today if Melissa had never come into it. She's had a subtle but pervasive issue from the first week we were together. I remember we did a live stream, very memorable live stream right at the beginning of the relationship. All right. So look, this is my conclusion about the video. It's easy to present your argument to someone who's committed to the incel view of the world by saying within the narrow range of your worldview, this, and this are wrong. To present yourself as if, hey, my view of the world, my life, what's meaningful to me is the same as what you believe in, but negating this, and this. Like, okay, so you have these kind of woman-blaming attitudes. You have these attitudes that all women only care about appearances and money and status. You have these kinds of very reductionistic attitudes towards women's motives, whatever is the case. So you're saying to the person, I'm the same as you, but I'm the same as you, except. And again, if you have a friend who's Muslim and they say, hey, how's your life different as an atheist? Oh, well, I'm just like you as a Muslim, except I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't believe in this, I don't do that. My life is the same as yours, but without prayer and circumcision, right? And for the purposes of just one conversation, right? Same even with being a vegan. If you tell your grandmother, say you have a cranky old grandmother who is not really interested in hearing your philosophy or politics or worldview, say, oh, well, gee, grandma, my life is just the same as yours. But when I eat cereal for breakfast, when I have boxed cereal like Shreddies for breakfast, I don't put cow milk on it. I put soy milk on it. You can give this as this kind of, you're taking a narrow worldview and you're making it narrower through negation. And what nihilism is all about is instead making your worldview broader through negation, where it's like, no, this is the meaning of life for me, whereas this is the meaning of life for you. This is what's possible for me. It's this grander, all-encompassing worldview. Things are thinkable to me. Things are imaginable for me. Things are possible for me. Things are enjoyable for me. And things are rewarding in the sense of being meaningful for me. That won't be for you because you have this much narrower worldview. And I think the art of progressing from, frankly, a teenage perspective on the world to a robust, mature, middle-aged view of the world is learning how to engage with people on both that higher level of analysis and, in a sense, that more fundamental, in some ways, more shallow level of communication. Because you don't just want to get across to someone. Your life would be so much better if you could understand what I understand. I want you to know that your life would be so much better if you could feel what I feel.